Well, good morning, friends. My name is Jason Edwards, and I'm the senior pastor of Second Baptist Church in Liberty, Missouri, and I am here to invite you to another midweek pause. I'm inviting you to that midweek pause as I'm pausing this morning in the midst of our memorial garden, this beautiful space surrounded by all of this nature, while also being surrounded by Lightburn Street and the noise that comes through here in the morning. So we're surrounded by the noise of creation, the noise of nature, the noise of birds, the noise of people as they pass by on their cars and as they walk by in the morning, and even neighbors over here who are moving either in or out of a house. In the midst of all of the noise of creation, I want to invite you to consider this morning where you are placing your attention and how that placement of attention, what you're placing your attention on and in, is affecting you. How it's affecting you emotionally, how it's affecting you physically, how it's affecting you mentally, how it's affecting you spiritually. Do you find the things that you most place your attention on and in are things that seem to give life, that renew your soul, that renew your spirit, that bring joy to your life right now? Or do you find the things that you are most placing your attention on and in are things that create disruption and anxiety and diminish your sense of joy in this life and in others and in God's good creation? This morning I want you to think about where you're placing your attention and about how that placement of attention is affecting you. In the epistle known as Hebrews, at the back of your Bible, in Hebrews chapter 12, the author, after recounting the lives of great people of faith, invites us to fix our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. This is what got me thinking about where we place our attention. The author of Hebrews invites us to fix our eyes on Jesus. I'd like for us to think about the various ways we might fix our eyes and our ears and really all of our senses on Jesus and the goodness of God rumbling through this world in ways that might bring life instead of take life this week. I want you to think of it almost like a strategy, not just as one midweek pause, but when you find yourself being disrupted and anxious because you're spending far too much time scrolling through social media feeds, because you're focusing too much on something in the newspaper that's really upsetting you, because you just can't turn off that news channel, whatever that news channel is, and you're just feeling anxious and riled up, and it's in your body, and that's where you're placing your attention. We need to be aware of what's going on in the world. We also need to be aware that the things that are scrolling across our news feeds are not the only things going on in the world, but the noise of God's presence, God's good creation, is also rumbling through our world. But there are other things. There are good relationships. There's beauty. There's love. There's stillness. There's even moments where we simply pause to taste the goodness of a good cup of coffee. There are moments where we pause and instead of feeling disrupted by the noise going on around us, we just listen to it. Maybe we let those sounds take us to a pleasant memory from our past, a memory that we might recount as a gift from God, and we enjoy it. We take moments and we open up the scriptures, and we read a favorite verse that ministers to us. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross. We take moments to feel. I had this Celtic cross that I got from Ireland. It's the cross of St. Patrick. Sometimes I just sit and allow my fingers to move across the artistry of this cross. And I think about the meaning, the image of the four apostles and of Christ, and the Celtic symbols. And I just allow the healing of touch to minister to me and to take my attention to life-giving things in that moment. This week is the feast of St. Patrick, not St. Patrick, the feast of St. Francis. And I'm reminded of a time on sabbatical several years ago where my good friend Craig and I were in Assisi. We were learning about St. Francis. By the way, St. Francis, a lover of nature and God's creation. Maybe one of the things you could do this week if you have a pet is a lot of Christians will participate in what's called the blessing of the animals this week. Maybe you could allow your animal to bless you. Just petting, enjoying a moment of presence. This little pendant is something my friend Craig bought when we were in Assisi. And he started the tradition of when we see each other, we pass it back and forth. When he has it, he gives it to me. When I have it, I give it to him. And so I can, as I pray, run my fingers across this image of St. Francis, and I can think about his life, the simplicity of it, and how that simplicity changed the world. But I also think about good friendships. About my good friend Craig. I wonder what you might do this week. What you might plan to do, both preemptively, at the beginning of each day, to give your attention to something that God might use to minister to you, and what you might keep with you in the midst of the day. That you might use to draw your attention away from whatever is taking joy from your soul. I wonder what practices might you sit out on a bench at just one little moment for 10 minutes in the day. Take a walk. Sit with your kids and just listen to them. How might you decide to stop giving your attention just for a few moments to something you know is disrupting your soul, and to turn your attention to something that ministers and renews and gives joy to your soul? Take a moment to consider that now, and then, if you will, consider infusing the rest of your week with those kinds of moments.